Jai Hind, good afternoon, my loving kids. Welcome again today for your virtual class with your Tulika ma'am. Today I'll be teaching you the poem Fog by Carl Sandburg. Now, this is the poem which is a very short poem with only 6 lines. And the 6 lines are again bifurcated in 2 stanzas. It's a poem of a free verse, right? This poem is an example of a very good example of an extended metaphor. Here the poet uses metaphor, the cat, to the fog. The fog is compared to the cat. The cat is metaphored to the fog by the poet. The poet imagines that the fog, like a cat, comes in very silently, without making any noise, without anybody's notice. The fog comes quietly, unnoticingly, sits for a moment, stays for a moment, and then gradually it engulfs. Gradually it engulfs the whole city. The fog comes, it sits, it stays in the harbor for a moment, and gradually it engulfs the whole city in its fold. And then unnoticingly again it vanishes to the where? It vanishes again to the feline mystery. Again it vanishes to the feline mystery. Nobody knows where the fog vanishes. You know what is fog, children? Dhund. Dhund. Have you heard of dhund? That is fog. Beautifully, the poet has used the literary device metaphor here to describe the movements, the activities of the fog. Right. So, let me share the PDF and proceed for the further explanation. You can see class 10 poem 9 Fog, First Flight book by Carl August Sandburg. Now the poet's name, be very particular, children, because the poet names often I see them coming in the questions, and you have full 1 marks for this. So never forget to learn the name, that is fog. It's not the fog. And then Carl August Sandburg. Spellings and all you have to learn. Now, introduction of the poem. The Fog is a very small poem written by Carl Sandburg. He has described the process of arrival of the fog into a city and the harbor. He has very beautifully compared it to a cat. Understood, children? About the poet Carl August Sandburg. In 1878 to 1967, he was an American poet, writer, and editor. He won 3 Pulitzer Prize, 2 for his poetry and 1 for his biography of Abraham Lincoln. He wrote poems like Grass, Analysis, Chicago, etc. Now the fog you can see. The fog comes on little cat feet. It sits looking over the harbor and city on silent haunches and then moves on. Fog, it is a thick cloud of tiny water droplets. You can see the a pic of the fog here, children. You can see? Yes. So it's a thick cloud of tiny water droplets present in the atmosphere, especially in winters. Harbor, all of us, we know it. Port, dock. On haunches, sitting with the knees bent. We sit in the cat sits on the haunches, sitting on the knees bent. The poet is describing fog. Fog is a thick cloud of tiny water droplets present in the atmosphere. It is generally seen during the winter season. Here the poet describes the advancement of fog towards the city and the harbor. He says the fog comes like a cat comes on its little feet. This means the fog advances towards the city very slowly and calmly, just like a cat. One never knows how and when the fog will enter the city. Therefore, fog is compared to the cat which enters our home in an unpredictable manner. Next, he says that the fog sits over the whole of the city as a cat sits silently by folding her legs behind itself and looks around the nearby places and things. Similarly, it seems that the fog silently folding her legs behind itself looks around the nearby places and things just as the cat does. Similarly, it seems that the fog silently covers the whole of the city and the harbor and is sitting over them looking around like a cat. After a while, the fog leaves the city and moves on in its mysterious world, in the world of mysteries. The poet says so because it is a natural phenomenon that fog does not stay at a place for long and leaves the place after few hours. So here also the poet says that just like a cat, the fog leaves the place very silently without being noticed by anyone. The literary devices metaphor, fog is compared to cat on little cat feet. Rhyme scheme, there is no rhyme scheme as I told you. The poem is in free verse. Enjambment, when a sentence continues to the next line, it sits looking. This was the end of a sentence, isn't it? The starting is, then moves on. Then starting of the next sentence without any punctuations, right? Personification. The fog has been personified. The fog comes, sits, stays, and then vanishes. Right? With this was the short poem, children. I end my explanation today. So I would be expecting you now. All of you would be joining me in the WhatsApp window where I'll be sharing the PDF of the extra questions. Now start writing as you are left with some time. Please start writing the textbook questions in your A notebooks. Maintain the index, the margins, everything, right? And I'll be sharing the PDF of the extra questions. Please do write the questions also to maintain your question bank. Stay tuned, stay safe, stay positive, children. That is very important. And remember, studies can only help you out to excel in your life. Thank you. Goodbye.